The civil and criminal lawsuits against former Deputy Ben Fields unearthed a scandal entailing an abuse of power towards inmates within the Letcher County Sheriff's Office and court system. Along with the now convicted abuser and former Sheriff Deputy Fields, the Sheriff of Letcher County was also named in the civil suit. Mickey Stines was now in the hot seat, and whether or not he was aware of what Deputy Fields was hiding is yet to be determined. According to both lawsuits, then Deputy Ben Fields ran the county's home detention program. This was a contract labor position with East Kentucky Correctional Solutions, which Fields held in addition to his position in the sheriff's office. This is the same position that Mickey Stines once held before being elected as sheriff and had recommended Fields take over for the county. East Kentucky Correctional Solutions provided the equipment and monitoring of house arrest inmates. The equipment is what many are familiar with as ankle monitors. The lawsuits said the system puts women inmates at risk of sexual exploitation. Adkins alleged she couldn't afford the $85 weekly fee charge for her ankle bracelet, and Fields provided favorable treatment for sex. 2 days after Adkins' suit was filed, then Sheriff Mickey Stines fired Fields. 3 days after Stines gave a deposition in the suit, he allegedly murdered Letcher District Judge Kevin Mullins. We do hope that the trial will answer all questions, but until then, we are going to dive into the testimony of Sheriff Mickey Stines on September the 16th, 2024. The attorney continued to reference the criminal complaint by stating the offender of home incarceration failed to report to the Letcher County Sheriff's Office. The statement is signed by then Deputy Fields. Stines explains that Fields would have spoken with the county attorney's assistant, Angela Trent, to complete the complaint form. It then was signed by the judge, and it would be placed in the sheriff's computer system as an e-warrant, and everyone at that sheriff's office would have had access to it. Stines confirmed that Ben Fields only had authority to arrest people in court and in courthouse grounds since he was not a road deputy. The attorney asked for Stines to tell them about the phone conversation he had with Ben Fields after the reporter called and told Stines a lawsuit had been filed. Again, Stines says he cannot recall. The attorney said, "I would like for you to try the best that you can, because this is the only chance to ask you about it." Stines said, "That reporter had called and said somebody had filed a lawsuit against him. The rest I cannot recall. It was a brief discussion." Stines said he did not speak with Judge Kraft and Robbie Kinser before they showed up at his office. When pressed on their discussion again, Stines said, "They came over from drug court and told me that Ben had been messing around with a drug court participant, Brianna Cornett, and that Stacy Yates had reported that he had been fooling with Sabrina Adkins, and that is when they mentioned something about messages." Stines said he did not recall if they gave him any copies of these messages, but Kraft and Kinser did advise Stines that they had not reported it to any law enforcement or anybody else. Finally, on page 165 of 196, Judge Mullins is referenced. Stines said he did not know if Judge Mullins was aware. That same day, Mickey Stines calls Kentucky State Police and spoke with Supervisor Derek Sturgill. He said he does not recall whether he told Sturgill about the information that was withheld from him by a court judge and court coordinator, or if he told him he had an employee that had some allegations made against him. "I needed an investigation." Again, Stines does not recall Sturgill's response. Within an hour and a half, the county attorney, Jamie Hatton, came to Stines' office at Stines' request. Stines said that Hatton's advice to him was to send Fields a letter of suspension without pay. Stines also confirmed that he did not instruct Ben Fields to delete any of his Facebook groups or messages, nor did Stines delete any of his own Facebook items. Stines said that Ben Fields did come to his office that same night of January 31st, 2021. He took Fields back to his office and shut the door. The attorney pointed out that there was no witness to this. Stines said he told Fields about the reporter's allegations, and a lawsuit had been filed against him for SA. Stines does not recall if Fields admitted or denied the allegations. Within another hour, Brianna Cornett came to Stines' office. Stines does not recall if he called her up from the jail or if she came from her home. He also does not recall if he requested her appearance in his office. Stines said that when she came in, he briefly met with her out in the front office with Lashana in attendance. No one else was in attendance. Brianna said that Fields had kissed her in his car. Stines did not make any recorded statements or notes. He asked Brianna for her contact number and her full name and told her that someone would be in touch with her. Stines then called the county attorney and advised him of the meeting. Stines then said he briefly met with Fields on that same evening and gave him the letter of suspension as he told of the allegations from Sabrina Adkins. He said he believed Fields did apologize to him. Stines got up and told Fields he needed his weapon and badge. That is when he told Fields that there are others. Fields asked who. Stines informed him it was Brianna. Stines does not recall Fields' response. Stines then called Patty Stockham of East Kentucky Correctional Solutions and advised her that Fields had been placed on suspension without pay. Although he said Stockham was shocked and he had apologized to her, Stines did not recall the remainder of the conversation. The next person Stines spoke with was a few days later. Bert Sloan requested that the investigator come to the jail to discuss an unredacted of inmate and Brianna Cornett. It was at this time that Stines learned Ben Fields' wife had spoken to a co-worker, another jail employee, Lena Hensley, about Sabrina Adkins. Bert Sloan said that whomever is investigating the matter needed to go to the jail and speak with Ben's wife. Stines cannot recall what Ben's wife said to Lena Hensley, nor is he aware if anyone ever went over to speak with them. Stines confessed that during this time, he was tore up and having a bad episode, so his memory is fogged. He did show the attorney his documentation that his office manager assisted him with. He sent in the information to Kentucky Law Enforcement Council advising of a criminal investigation and deputy suspension without pay. Stines admitted that he had left his discussions with the Commonwealth attorney off of his timeline and said Kentucky State Police refused and he would get up with the Attorney General's office and investigate the matter. On February 2nd, Stines terminated Ben Fields after speaking with Bert Sloan. It was at this time during the deposition, Stines advises them he did speak with the Commonwealth attorney, Judge Mullins and Bert Sloan at the courthouse. Stines said that on February 1st, the Commonwealth attorney, Edison Banks, told him that he would have to terminate Ben Fields and to use their letter of termination. He said that same day while in court, he also told Judge Mullins about the lawsuit. He was not sure if Mullins was already aware, and he cannot recall their conversation. On February 10th, Judge Kraft contacted Stines to advise him that Brianna Cornett had given more information on Ben Fields. Stines says he does not recall, but he does remember speaking with Patty of East Kentucky Correctional Solutions again, and she informed him that she was also going to terminate Ben Fields' employment. Stines said he has not had any further communications with Ben Fields since handing him his termination letter and advising him that he was no longer a deputy. Ben Fields' attorney then began asking questions during Stines' deposition. All were just basically reiterating the discussions that Stines had testified to having with Ben Fields. The deposition was then closed. After the Fields scandal became public, Task Home Incarceration and Court-Ordered Services took over the home detention program in Letcher County. The company's owner says representatives only meet with inmates when a camera is present,